This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by the Emerald Conference, the annual gathering of the top minds in marijuana science and technology, coming up next week on February 15th and 16th in San Diego, California. If you could benefit from having a better handle on the latest developments in cannabis technology and science, then you should open up the emeraldconference.com to register. You'll make valuable industry connections and deepen your understanding of the fine scientific points of marijuana cultivation, extraction, processing, and dispensing when you attend the Emerald Conference. Make sure to use the discount code MJToday502018, all mashed together in one word, when you register over at the emeraldconference.com to save $50 off the cost of registering. One more time, that's discount code MJToday502018 over at theemeraldconference.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, February 8th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 427 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is one of those headlines that is only semi-related to marijuana as we turn our sights to a story about the nation's ongoing opioid epidemic, specifically how criminally out of touch Attorney General Jeff Sessions is when it comes to the realities of life for people struggling with addiction. While speaking yesterday in the Tampa, Florida office of one of the state's U.S. attorneys, U.S. Attorney General Sessions joked about people with pain-related opioid addictions, saying, quote, people should be able to take some aspirin sometime, tough it out, unquote. That short, stupid joke reveals a lot about how terrifically unsuited our nation's top cop is to handle the complexities of the opioid crisis. Attorney General Sessions gladly serves a president who has done nothing at all on a substantive basis to combat the ills of opioid abuse and overdose. Their echo chamber of ignorance is costing hundreds of Americans their lives every day, with medical marijuana being one of the better and easier to implement solutions to reducing the harms of opioid use. This is an issue we all need to be fully caught up on. The second headline in today's lineup continues on the themes of the first, with NPR taking a longer-form look at how badly a job President Trump is doing to combat the harms of opioid abuse. This is one of those stories that you need to click over and read, but in short, Trump has mostly ignored the problem on a pragmatic policy level while occasionally paying lip service to the issue with bombastic statements vowing to get tougher and gutting funding for helpful programs and organizations. In short, it's par for the course for our idiot traitor president. But in this case, Trump's neglect is killing more than 64,000 Americans every year while dumping despair and pain on countless others. Open this one up for the full read. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Our final top story of the day bounces us out to Oregon, where the state's Secretary of State's office just released a detailed audit of their legal marijuana industry. The audit is causing some alarm within the state as it highlights a gap in oversight within the program to monitor cannabis on a seed-to-sale basis. Picked out for criticism is the reliance on industry businesses to self-report on things like plant counts and harvest sizes without sufficient verification. The Oregon Liquor Control Commission was also accused of not properly protecting their computer and data systems from attacks by hackers. Pop over to Oregon Live for all the details on this one and for a link to the full audit itself. Even if you don't live in Oregon, this is an instructive story to take in. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the upcoming 4th Annual Emerald Conference, which explores the science and technology of cannabis. Marijuana is relatively unique among humanity's favorite mood-altering substances in that it can be prepared and consumed in a startlingly large number of ways. You can smoke it, you can eat it, you can vape it, you can rub it in your skin, and you can even stick it under your tongue. And your body handles consuming cannabis differently depending on how you do it. That's why eating an overly large dose of cannabis edibles can set you off on an intense 24-hour trip that would make Maureen Dowd proud, but not so much if you just burned through a large pre-roll. All of that means that there are a zillion different ways to look at cannabis and how it's used and consumed through the scientific lens, which we've really only scratched the surface of. not that you'd want to scratch a lens. Put yourself in place to maximize your handle on legal cannabis science and technology by getting to San Diego, California next week for the Emerald Conference, which takes place February 15th and 16th. Find out more details over at theemeraldconference.com and use the discount code MJToday50 2018 to save $50 off the already affordable cost of registering. One more time, that's theemeraldconference.com, discount code MJToday50 2018. All right, time for the Blitz. Senator Cory Gardner is making good on his threats to hold up all nominations for positions within the Department of Justice. Senator Gardner, a Republican from Colorado, vowed to hold up DOJ nominations after Attorney General Jeff Sessions rescinded the Cole Memo, the Obama-era guidance document outlining how the federal government would be okay with limited state legal cannabis. Putting holds on nominees is one of the more powerful perks of being a U.S. senator, and so far the Denver Post is reporting that Gardner has held up as many as 11 Department of Justice nominees. This story gets more interesting the longer it runs, so we'll keep an eye out for new developments. CBC News has a great story up about the big uptick in business seen by Canadian financial services firm Canaccord Genuity, which it mainly attributes to a rise in the number of cannabis deals moving across its books. Canaccord Genuity should be a name familiar to regular listeners of the show, as the company pops up frequently whenever news breaks of a large fundraising deal taking place up in Canada. CBC News is reporting that Canaccord reported adjusted net income of just over $50 million Canadian for the last 3 months of 2017, compared to just $7.8 million in the same time span the previous year. News like that can only be helpful in convincing other financial services businesses to shrug off hesitancy over getting into legal marijuana deals. Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moments has a good roundup of the various movements at the state level to enact more progressive marijuana policies, from ballot measures to full-on legislatively imposed reforms. With lots of good links, this is a story you just need to jump over to. Fox News just released a new poll showing that a record 59% of Americans are in favor of legalizing adult use marijuana, up from 51% just 3 years ago and 46% in 2013. The percentage of polled Americans who are against legalization has sharply fallen as support has risen, with 49% being against legal cannabis in 2013, but just 32% in the latest poll. The results show the normally seen split between older and younger Americans, with the younger set being more disposed to approving legal marijuana, with another divide seen on political lines, with 68% of Democrats favoring legalization and just 46% of Republicans. But even in more conservative circles, the pool of people who are opposed to legalization is getting smaller. In 2015, 59% of Republicans were against legalization, but this year it's just 46%. Starting on March 1st, the marijuana dispensary listing services Leafly will no longer accept California dispensaries that are not properly licensed by the state. The profile information for dispensaries who are awaiting the awarding of their licenses will be stored even as their listing is taken down, but won't be released fully again until proof of licensing is made. Pop over to New Cannabis Ventures for details on this one if that change impacts your world. In a slice of industry story out of Colorado, the Aspen Times is reporting that, for the first time ever, marijuana dispensaries in that glitzy mountain town have sold more cannabis than liquor stores have sold booze. In 2017, Aspen's marijuana dispensaries collectively sold $11.3 million in product, beating out the $10.5 million in business seen by liquor stores. And finally for today, we have some good news out of Vermont that state lawmakers are talking about ways they can fast-track the process of expunging nonviolent marijuana possession charges from people's records. Vermont recently legalized the cultivation, possession, sharing, and use of adult-use marijuana, and some lawmakers say they have work to do to ensure that people with records of now legal acts are not negatively impacted by having a criminal record. One proposal being worked on would create a fast-track system to wipe clean any misdemeanor charges for people caught with between 1 and 2 ounces of marijuana, the range at which offenders aren't yet slapped with felonies, but also aren't let off with a non-criminal charge. We'll keep an eye on this one as it makes its way through the process. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the Emerald Science Conference, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.